So in the Bible, we see that God experiences emotions. We see that he feels anger. It says that in Proverbs that there's things that he hates. We find that it says that God is a jealous God. We find that God has regrets and sorrow. For example, he says that he regretted that he made Saul to be king. We find that he has sorrow over things that have happened when, for example, with the flood of Noah, when mankind became evil. It grieved his heart. We see God experiences some of these negative emotions, but there's a couple negative emotions that we actually don't see God experience. The first one I want to talk about is stress. We don't see God being stressed. Now, I want to talk about why that is here, which is one of the things I learned. I was in the process of writing my book, Cracking Heaven's Code, and I was beginning to see this concept about how our hearts contain software programming. And this programming is basically operating our body. And like all software, it can get viruses. And God began to show me that the indicator, the thing that lets you know when there is a lie, or these viruses are lies. So the viruses are lies about what you believe to be true when it comes to God, when it comes to yourself, when it comes to other people, and just how the world works. When we're believing lies, it's like viruses that impact the software and the coding that's in our hearts, and it causes disruptions in our lives and causes us not to, bad things to happen in our lives. And the number one indicator that I learned that lets you know when there is a lie that you are believing in your heart is a lack of peace. It's when you are stressed, when you are confused, when you're all these things, that's letting you know that there is a lie that you need to believe in your heart, or there's a lie that you're believing in your heart that needs to be cleaned out. And so a lack of peace. And so one of the things we know is that God is truth. There is no lie found in him. Jesus talks about, the devil is the father of the lies, and that there's no truth in him. Well, God is the opposite of that. He's all truth. And so we don't see God being stressed because he doesn't have any lies that are inside of him that need to be cleaned out. So we don't see him being stressed. Jesus says, don't worry about things. Don't give, he commands us over and over not to worry and not to be afraid. That's the other one we don't see God experiences. We don't see God ever being afraid because, faith and fear are opposites. And we don't ever see God being afraid of things. Okay, we see God, a God who thinks that nothing is impossible, and that he has tremendous faith in us. And, we're supposed to be the same way. So we're supposed to be imitating God. Stress, there are a place for negative emotions, okay? God gave us stress and fear to let us know when we're believing something that we're not supposed to be believing, when we're believing a lie that's not true. And the other one is humility. Okay, we don't see God experiencing pride. We see Satan was the original producer of pride. God is the opposite of that. He is humble at all times. Jesus came to the earth. He was humble. So these three emotions we see God is never fearful. God is never stressed. God is never prideful. Okay, God always trusts. God has courage. God is always in control of himself. He could control us, but he gives us free will to choose. God is secure. So we see that God is always in these emotions, but he does have negative emotions like anger, and there's things that he hates, and you see that he's grieved, he's been made sorrowed, these types of things. But there are certain emotions that God does not experience, I don't think, the way that we experience them, is that he's not stressed, he's not fearful, he's not prideful, he's not experiencing these different emotions. And we're supposed to become more and more like him. We're supposed to be growing more and more like him and imitating him. Jesus commands us, don't be stressed. Why are you so afraid? And these are letting us know when there's something that's in our hearts that needs to be cleaned out. We talked about it the other day. I shot a video just yesterday on, we call it iterate yourself and become a better version of you. You have the ability to, we're given the example of like Silicon Valley, all these technology companies and software companies, they try to push a product out to the market and then they get feedback and they try to iterate it as quickly as possible. Well, we can do the same things. Your emotions are letting you know when there's things in your heart that need to be cleaned out, when there's viruses that are in there that need to be cleaned out, and you can iterate them. You can upgrade the software, you can clean out the viruses, you can become a new and a better version of you. And one of the things I've learned is that your emotions are the translators. They are the language of your soul. They're the language letting you know when there's things that are in your heart that need to be cleaned out. And so when we learn to translate and to interpret this language of your emotions, we begin to see much more clearly what's going on. What am I believing? What are the things that are true? What are the things that are lies? And when I'm not getting results in an area, when I'm experiencing these negative emotions that I shouldn't be experiencing in an area, that's letting me know that there's something that needs to be cleaned out in there. Now, in that video, yesterday we talked about the progression of how do you clean these things out. When you identify them, hey, why am I feeling afraid? Why am I feeling stressed? Why am I feeling prideful? When I'm experiencing these things, that's letting me know there's something that needs to be cleaned out. How do I clean them out? Number one, I have to believe that it is possible for me to become a different person. We're talking about a change of heart here. We're talking about this software coding is contained in the inner core of you, which is in your heart. The Bible talks about the inner person of the heart. That's where your software is, that's programming your life. It impacts your thoughts and your emotions and your words and your actions and your behavior. And we can get in and we can reprogram this software. And how do we do it? Number one, we have to believe that it's possible. Number two, becoming more aware. How am I feeling throughout the day? Am I feeling stressed? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling afraid? Am I feeling insecure? Am I feeling discouraged? What am I feeling? In my book, Cracking Heaven's Code, we talk about the different spectrum of emotions and what those mean and how they code into your body and the different signals that those send to your body. And we need to learn to be able to translate these emotions to know exactly what I'm feeling, because then I can go in and I can make adjustments. I can go in and make changes. Or maybe I'm responding to situations in a way that I don't like. I'm responding to things in a way that's not the person that I want to be. That's letting me know that there's something in there that I need to go in and I need to fix. I need to upgrade. I need to iterate the software as quickly as possible. I'm experiencing these negative emotions. I got to believe that I can change it. I've got to become aware. How am I feeling? How am I behaving? How am I showing up in the world? What are the emotions that I'm experiencing? And when I find things that I don't like and I know that I'm not supposed to be experiencing, then I got to go in. Step number one is I got to forgive. Okay, forgiveness on three levels. I got to receive forgiveness from God. I've got to forgive myself, and I may need to reconcile relationships with other people as well. So forgiveness on three levels. And then the next step is I got to replace that lie with truth. I got to have a change of heart about what I believe to be true. Now, what forgiveness does is it gives you access to the software and access to the coding. If you're not willing to receive forgiveness, forgive yourself, forgive others, it's like the coding is walled off and you can't get to it. You can't make changes. You can't iterate the software because you don't have access to it. Forgiveness restores the access into the code and allows you to restore the coding to where it's supposed to be, to restore it to its original design, the way that God intended it to be. That's one of the coolest things. Now, we got to replace these lies with truth. So typically the lies are going to be things you're believing about God that are not true. Maybe that, what his plans for you, what are for you, things that you believe about him to be true. Like lies that you're believing about yourself, lies that you're believing about what you're capable of, that you're not good enough, that you can't do it, that you're not capable, that you're not smart enough, that you can't figure things out, or it's lies you're believing in relationship to other people. Okay, it could be that you're believing that other people aren't good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not capable, and you're viewing yourself as better than them, or whatever it may be. We have to make sure that we're believing truth across all those. So the truths are nothing is impossible with God. Every person is valuable. Every person has something valuable to contribute. And God has a set of master principles. We talk about that. You can go back and watch the video. I have 8 biblical principles for success. He has some master principles that you can't violate when you talk about, restoring the software coding back into your heart. So we have to make sure that we're replacing these lies with truth. Okay, and we go in, and now I got to take action on those truths, and those truths need to become my new beliefs, and I truly have a change of heart. And when you have a change of heart, it is like you become a brand new person. You become a better version of you. You become upgraded, and you truly, when you have a change of heart, you become a new person. We talk about people that have, let's say, a change of heart, and they believe differently. They become a new person. They begin to live a different way. When you truly believe something, okay, you're going to live a different way. How do you know what somebody really believes? Okay, you can tell by how they act, how they behave, what their behavior, what are the things that they do, and especially in times of stress and times of pressure. When the pressure is on, they're getting squeezed a little bit, how do they respond? That's going to let you know when there's things in your heart that you're not believing. You're going to say, that's where we find out your true colors. Each of these emotions is linked to a color. So we have red with anger and green with envy and these types of things. We see your true colors when the squeeze is put on you. When you're put into stressful environments, do you respond with stress and anxiety, or how do you respond? If you're in the pressure environment, but you truly believe that God is going to take care of you, Jesus said not to worry because all these things will be added to you. If you have that belief in your heart, when the pressure is put on you, you'll respond much differently than someone who believes differently in their heart. And so this is the process. But I want to talk about these emotions that God doesn't, I don't think God experiences them. God experiences emotions, but he gave us emotions as a translator to let us know when there's things in our hearts that are good, when things that are not good, and it's letting us know the software programming so that we can go in and make changes. We can iterate, and we can become a better version of us. And the coolest thing I've learned, you can do this almost instantly. Once you recognize, as you become aware and you recognize, hey, why am I responding that way? Why did I snap at that person? Why did I get stressed? Why did I feel insecure? When I realize that, now I can go in. Okay, I need to go through forgiveness. What is it that I'm believing that's not true? And how can I replace that with what God said about my situation? I can make changes. I can have a change of heart literally instantly. Okay, as soon as I get a change of heart, I get instant transformation. It's going to take a little bit of time to work its way out to produce tangible results in your life, because it has to work from the inside out, but the results are coming. When you have those changes of heart, it's going to affect your words, it's going to affect your behavior. Jesus talks about, repent and show by the way that you live that you've changed in your heart. Okay, and so you're going to see these changes come about when you begin to make changes in the inner coding of your heart, and it's a pretty amazing thing that you can iterate and you can become a new person almost on the fly, and day to day you can continually upgrade yourself and make yourself better and better. And the way we do it is by getting awareness and getting feedback, paying attention to how I'm feeling, and all of these things begin to give me insights into how to make myself better so that I show up in the world as a better version of me.